Hello, in this episode of my Behind the Book series, I will be discussing the organization known as the Ministry. The full name of this group is the Ministry of the Silver Scythe, but most of the characters use the short form, the Ministry. I got the idea for the name from the Ministry of Magic in the Harry Potter book series, because the two groups perform pretty similar tasks, regulating harmful magic. Mine is just much less forgiving. Silver symbolizes purity and has evil-destroying properties, such as a silver bullet killing a werewolf. Yes, there are werewolves in my story. A scythe is a reaping tool used to harvest wheat, and like a scythe, they cut down the enemies of the Ministry, thus, you get the Ministry of the Silver Scythe. They are represented by the symbol of a raven perched on the head of a scythe, or just by a raven. Their customary uniform is colored red and orange, with the scythe or raven symbology on the shoulder or chest. Their weapons are similarly adorned with these symbols. As a side note, in today's culture, we see the Grim Reaper depicted with a scythe, a throwback to its use on a farm, only instead of wheat, it harvests souls. The symbolism of the Grim Reaper also has ties to Greek mythology and the Celtic Ankou, but became popularized into its current image during the Black Death. Before I go any further, here's a spoiler warning for those who haven't read my books because my discussion may reveal certain plot aspects. Essentially, the Ministry governs Arnaira. Arnaira is the name of the kingdom/country where most of the story takes place. The Ministry is led by the Council of Seven, which is made up of 7 High Inquisitors, the highest rank achievable within the Ministry. They rule from the Arnairan capital named Rorinon, which is located south of Forna, where the main character, Hyrok, spends a portion of the story. I do mention a king of Arnaira, but his power is extremely limited, and this current ruler never actually appears in the story. Arnaira is on the eastern edge of the continent, which I never named in the story, with the Entra Sea, which is actually the ocean, located to the south and southeast. Heavily forested terrain surrounds the kingdom, and with the Gardren Mountains to the west, this region is fairly isolated. They do trade on the coast and northwestern land route from Mastgar, the country on the other side of the mountains. The last 2 books in the series deals with Mastgar, but, regretfully, at the time of this video's creation, I lack a map of that region. Because of the troublesome terrain, outside ideas are hard-pressed to enter the kingdom, and what little trickles through, the Ministry keeps a tight grip on lest they risk unfavorable ways of thinking taking hold. To understand what makes them so cautious of new information, we must look into the kingdom's history. 80 years prior to Hyrok's story and the advent of the Ministry, a powerful sorcerer named Fegrotha came onto the scene. He came from the Northlands, a cold, unforgiving region to the north that is inhabited by violent tribes known to pillage Arnaira. Fegrotha attempted to deceive the king of Arnaira with promises of power, but unbeknownst to the king, the price of this power was at a terrible cost. When his deception was found out, he was banished from the kingdom. Fegrotha vowed vengeance. He retreated to a forested village to the northwest, on the border of Mastgar, where he gathered forces to strike back. He used black magic, also called witchcraft, to summon a shadow demon army. In my story, shadow demons come from a realm called the Sunless Plains, a place of darkness and evil. As a side note, it is also the story's version of hell, and the term Sunless Plains is commonly used as a swear word. Shadow demons are lethal and exceptionally problematic adversaries because they utilize powerful black magic abilities, while posing a dual danger because their mere presence is a blight that kills all plant life in its vicinity. Along with the plant die-off, they corrupt animal life. Corrupted animals are highly aggressive and will viciously attack anyone on sight. They are easily identified by having glowing purple eyes. These animals also contribute to killing plants. In this way, shadow demons are a disease to the natural world. The shadow demons unleashed by Fegrotha crushed all the kingdom forces they encountered. When Fegrotha reaches the Arnairan king, he executes him and appoints himself ruler. He used black magic and his shadow demon minions against any disobedience. He is so unbearably brutal, the citizens of Arnaira revolt, deciding that a high probability of death for a chance to free themselves from Fegrotha were acceptable odds. It's a bloody and hard-fought conflict, but the rebels emerge victorious. As a result of Fegrotha's black magic tyranny, the Ministry is created. Their mission, root out any users of black magic in Arnaira and all traces of shadow demons. In this story, black magic users are simply referred to as a witch and their dark arts as witchcraft. Though their stated goal is well-meaning, the Ministry, unfortunately, overcorrects and ends up heaping all types of magic together, even healing magic, under the label of witchcraft, from fear of another Fegrotha. In the Sentinel flame world, for the most part, magic falls into elemental schools, such as ice, fire, rock, etc. The ability to use magic is relatively rare, and is not inherently evil. This is instead determined by the intentions of the caster, who is also called a mage. To the ministry, all magic became witchcraft, and anyone who practiced it was a witch. The term witch typically refers to women, but in my story, and in this context, I simplified it to refer to either a male or a female magic caster. Their fear was further compounded because true witchcraft was a type of magic used solely to cause harm and suffering, but through their distorted view, this distinction was confused and disintegrated until no one could tell them apart. Anyone caught using magic was considered a witch and therefore punished with execution, even if the magic in question was beneficial. This is why the ministry keeps a close watch on information entering their kingdom. They have a special type of soldier named a witch hunter, and as the name implies, they hunt down witches and anyone associated with them. Any number of benign activities can lead to these accusations, and innocent people are frequently swept up in them. The ministry investigates these claims, so citizens are not always found guilty, but the chances of this happening cannot be relied upon. It is anyone's guess if they will be acquitted of any accusations. Anyone found guilty of witchcraft or being a witch is swiftly executed. Hanging is the usual form of execution, but in especially heinous cases, such as necromancy, they are burned. I got the idea for my witches from the centuries-long witchcraft accusations that plagued medieval Europe and from the Salem witch trials, including a dash of the Spanish Inquisition. Apart from the brutal persecution of so-called witches, there is a moral code, or what might be considered the region's religion, the ministry and citizens of Arnaira adhere to. This is laid down by the mythical figures known as the Hallowed Knights, I mention a couple of times throughout my books. Invoking their name in a disrespectful manner is essentially the same as taking God's name in vain. These theological figures place strong emphasis on truth-telling, just and righteous actions, and generally moral behavior. I chose the ministry as the subject of my first video in this series so I could address something I've been concerned about in my story. If you haven't already picked up on it, I modeled the Hallowed Knights and the Society of Arnaira after medieval European Christianity and its beliefs during this time. My main concern about doing this is I was afraid my mimicry might come off as disdain for Christianity. This is in no way meant to represent an attack against Christians. My portrayal is instead meant to symbolize a sort of Christianity gone wrong, and the power of fear to distort everything. This is supposed to be a cautionary tale to show how good things can be twisted, and why, as Christians and non-Christians, we need to be constantly vigilant and to remain firm with our beliefs lest they be corrupted and possibly used to justify truly terrible things. It's also about how off course you can be drawn if you let irrational fear instead of logic run rampant. What the ministry is doing in my story is far from the well-meaning good it had intended to bring about at its beginning. This sort of badly interpreted belief system, distorted by fear, is what causes the main character, Hyrok, so many problems, and what ultimately leads to him having to flee from Forna. I think I have covered everything on the topic. This seems a good place to wrap things up. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. There is a link in the description of where my books are available for purchase, or you can visit my website to learn more. Please like and subscribe to my channel so you can view my latest video when it becomes available. Please bear in mind it's a lot of work to make these videos on top of my usual writing workload. I don't really have a timeline in mind, but I'll try to get one video out approximately every month, so keep an eye on your notifications for when I upload another video. Also, if you have any suggestions for the topic of the next video or something you want me to elaborate on in my books, please leave them in the comments, and I'll address them if I am able. Until next time.